I think it's relatively safe to say that narcissism is not the big obstacle that we sometimes make it out to be. Now, granted, at the very beginning when we are being duped, during the love bombing, love bonding stage, that's when we're suckered in and we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. We are being led into a trap, and once we're inside the trap, then it's a problem. But once we're onto them, once we know what the narcissists are up to, and once their mask is dropped, okay, now we see what's going on, and it's no longer a major obstacle to us. But you remember the story, we've mentioned this before in past videos, about the elephant who was tied to a stake. And the elephant didn't think he could leave because he couldn't. He was tied. But then the owner of the elephant untied him, untied the rope, and the elephant was free to go. But he had this mindset that he was tied. Trauma bond is kind of like that. We are bound to the narcissist in our minds only. Once we know, hey, wait a minute, we were bound and now we're not. We're free to go. We can deal with this. That makes a huge difference. That makes an amazing difference. So we need to adopt this frame of mind that we are no longer bound to the narcissist. We're free to go. Here are 5 points we need to keep in mind. The first point is, once we realize we're free to go, we need to ask ourselves, where are we going? Now, sounds simple, right? But everybody needs a sense of direction. That is to say, we need a goal, we need an objective, we need to know why we're going somewhere. Now, there are times when, okay, we just kind of like to let our minds wander, maybe go out in the wilderness, just kind of roam around, maybe take a drive in the countryside. But by and large, throughout life, that's not what life is all about. We need to have what I call a North Star. Know your North Star. So once you realize, hey, I'm free from the narcissist, he wants you to believe, or she wants you to believe, you're not free. But you're onto him. You have cut the rope yourself simply by being aware that the narcissist is not who he or she pretended to be. The act is over. The stage play is finished. It's gone and done. And there's the stupid narcissist. Excuse me for calling them stupid, but sometimes they do act stupid. And they're going on with the play. They're going on with the performance. Like, hey, I'm really in control here. No, you're not. We're on to you. You're not in control anymore. We have a sense of direction, and speaking to the narcissist, we say, sorry, but you're not included in the plans. Now, when you are determining what your North Star is, and you probably already have one, probably have many of them. You probably have financial objectives, or you should. You probably have relationship objectives. You probably have, I don't know what else, relaxation objectives, when to take time off and recreation. Hopefully you have health objectives. You have all kinds of North Stars. And I have these 3 fundamental principles when it comes to establishing what is a valid North Star. I want to share those with you. I'm in my 70s, I've learned a thing or two, just kind of want to share with you some of the things I've learned, and that is when we are determining what our North Star is. By that I just mean a goal, an objective, a predetermined, planned outcome. 3 things we need to ask ourselves. Number 1 is it profitable? Not necessarily financially profitable, even though, if it's a business goal, yeah, that's obviously one of your goals, but sometimes it can be a profitable relationship in that the profit is you have a mutual love with somebody else. That's, in a sense, profit. Number 2, is it legal? Does that need explanation? No, that doesn't need explanation. So you've got an objective, the North Star, a lot of objectives, and you want to make sure they're profitable. That is to say, well, they're worth the effort. Number 2, is it legal? And if you pass those 2 tests, the third question is it ethical? That is to say, is it moral? For example, one thing I love to do is I like to make YouTube videos. And I got to tell you, I'm not making a killing doing this. I think I made $6 last month, but I enjoy doing it. So what is the profit in making YouTube videos? Well, number one, I just enjoy doing it. Number two is, well, there's a potential that if it ever catches fire, which so far it hasn't, that this channel could be profitable. Years ago, I had a YouTube channel before they changed their algorithms. When was that? 2016? Man, that was like 8 years ago. And I was making $3,000 a month, sometimes $4,000. I thought I was killing it. Then they changed everything, and my channel just went down to nothing. So I've done different. I just like making videos. So, that's my North Star, to enjoy doing this. Second thing is this. As you free yourself from the narcissist, who at one time was part of your motivation, or so you thought. Now, really, it was manipulation more than motivation, but it was masked as motivation, and you thought you could not do without the narcissist. You thought it was such a benefit, such a, some people would say, a blessing to have this person around. It was a real advantage, but now you discover, I thought this was real fuel in my tank, so to speak, the narcissist. Then I found out, he was actually holding me back. Bonding. Love bombing is love bonding. What I thought was love was really hatred. It was self-centeredness. I wasn't being empowered. I was being disempowered. Then I figured it out. Okay, so I figured it out. Now what's going to empower me? I lost that power source. Well, hopefully you already have power sources in place, but I think one of the single most important power sources, fuels, let's put it that way, for anyone, even if you've never been entangled with a narcissist, which I doubt there's too many people like that, but it's purpose. The way that I like to say it is purpose is power. You got to have a reason. Just that simple. See, you know what your direction is. You know what your goal is. You know what your North Star is. Now you need to have a reason for going there. And if there is no reason for going there, why are you going? I mean, there's got to be a reason. I mean, it doesn't have to be, but should be, in my opinion. Years ago, I used to go out in a state park several times a week, and I'd just walk around. Not aimlessly, I'd try to, a couple times, but most of the time I'd stay on the path. I knew where I was. Well, what is the purpose in that? Nobody's paying me to go walk around in the woods. Well, the purpose was, number one, it was good exercise. Walking up the hill, down the hill, just staying busy. Physical exercise was good for me. That was the primary purpose, but it was also very mind relaxing. I could allow my mind to wander. So I had purpose. I had a reason for doing that. And if there's something I'm doing that doesn't have a reason, I got to stop and question, why am I doing this? And sometimes our reasons can get out of balance. So you are free from the narcissist. You were bound to him or her. They gave you a reason for living, but now suddenly you're released and you're out on your own. And you have all these competing reasons. Maybe the reason to do this is I just need to relax. Need to, let my mind wander. Well, you can't do that all day. I mean, you can, but it's not a good idea because you got bills to pay, right? So we need to make sure, what I'm saying is, when we try to identify what our purpose is, not just our direction, but our purpose, we need to make sure that our purpose, or purposes, plural, are balanced. We didn't have to do that when we were totally under control of the narcissist because he or she defined our purpose for us. The purpose, we didn't know it, but the purpose was to feed his or her ego, as they like to call that, giving them supply. That was their fuel. That's what kept them going. All right, number 3 is this. This is important. And for some reason, a lot of people overlook this one. I don't know why. But not only do you need to know what your North Star is and what powers you, what your purpose is, but you need to have a plan B. Maybe a plan C. Or multiple plans. I mean, what if this doesn't work out? For example, you had a plan, right? Your plan involved a narcissist. Well, guess what? That didn't work out. So you're going to go on to... What are you going to go on to? Did you have a plan B when you were entangled with a narcissist and didn't know it? Most of us probably didn't. It didn't occur to us what happens when this relationship, or if this relationship goes sour. It was already sour. We just didn't know it. Did we have a plan B in place? Probably we should. I mean, there's some things I don't have a plan B because some things are just, they're just not going to happen. I'm going to be with my wife till death do us part. I don't have a plan B. But if till death do us part, I need to have a plan B. And if I'm the one who dies, okay, I don't need a plan B in that case. But if my wife dies, what am I going to do? I'm not going to get remarried because I got the best wife in the world and I don't want to take a step down. So my plan B is I need to learn how to live with myself. It's plan B. It's kind of silly, right? Or maybe not silly, just kind of obvious. But what about your workplace? Now that's serious. You got a job, and if you're like most people, you are encountering not just one, but multiple narcissists of very variable intensities. And sometimes you have a full-blown psychopathic narcissist who is just a nutcase, and they don't like you. There's one thing they want to do. One of their goals in life is to manipulate you, and if they can't manipulate you, they want you gone. They want you fired. They want you out of there. Sometimes they actually pull it off. Do you have a plan B? I mean, if you were to lose your job because of a narcissist who is able to manipulate your employer, your supervisors, and to make you into the bad guy, do you have a plan B? What if your education doesn't work out? What if you get sick? We need to have plan Bs. That's all I'm saying. So when we free ourselves from narcissism, or from the effects of a narcissist, the bonding of a narcissist, we need to understand that we can't be like the elephant, just stand around, We need to go somewhere. We need to do something. This is not what we're meant to be. What is your plan B? Do you have one? Stop and think about it. By the way, you need to have more than one because you have more avenues that you're traveling at one time in life. Your job, your relationships, and your recreational activities. Hopefully you have a health plan of some kind, some plan for staying healthy, in health, keeping your weight in check. All those things. What if it doesn't work out? Got a plan B. Number 4 is, has it ever dawned on you, and I think it probably has, probably early on in your discovery stage, when you first realized the narcissist is a narcissist, you understood now. I didn't understand, but now I do. There is a language barrier, so we need to learn the language of the narcissist. Why do we need to do that? Well, that's going to help us not get entangled again in another narcissist. Now, the narcissist understands your language. It's why you got ensnared in the first place. They looked at you, they set you as a mark. They decided that you were vulnerable, you were the low-hanging fruit, you were the wounded gazelle. I like to use those analogies. And he or she said, yeah, I understand this person. Maybe it's the way that you walked. Maybe it's the way that you spoke. You didn't speak with strength and authority. Maybe you just came across as somebody presented, is the term psychologists use. You presented as somebody who could be taken advantage of. And the narcissist said to himself, I'm here, I'll take advantage of this person, and they did. They knew your language. Specifically, they understood not only your verbal language, but they understood your nonverbal language, which includes, by the way, just the tonnage, the way that you speak. We mentioned a second ago, speaking with authority. If you don't speak with authority, the narcissist, or narcissists plural, pick up on that. If you don't walk like somebody who's in control, you don't walk like a man if you're a man, or walk like a woman who is going places and doesn't want to be messed with, yeah, you can actually walk like that without looking silly. The narcissist will pick up on that, and they will learn they know, I should say, your language, and okay, they don't want to mess with you because you told them. You didn't even know you were talking to them, but you told them by your nonverbal language, your walking, the tonnage of your voice, and all these other nonverbal languages, nonverbal signs, and maybe verbal signs. You told them, don't mess with me, and you didn't know it. But they knew it, they heard it, and so they left you alone. Well, it's probably not you because that's why you're here. Okay, so they know your language. So we need to learn their language. And we also need to understand what it is about our language that makes us vulnerable. But we need to understand the language of a narcissist, and the narcissist language is always, they have this one language they speak. It's called deception. I mean, it's all about deceiving people. They think that is brilliant. If they can deceive you in their mind, the narcissist mind, that means they're smarter than you are. Now, to me, deception is probably one of the stupidest things you can do. But to the narcissist, no, it's not. You know, a narcissist can steal from somebody, wind up in prison, and still think they're the smartest person on earth because they got away with it for a while. So they must have been smarter. The fact that they're in prison doesn't dawn on them. You know, it's kind of like a speed bump. And they just go ahead being their narcissistic self in prison. Did you know? Statistically, I've read this years ago, but statistically, I think I read this in Robert Hare's book, 20% of prison inmates, state federal prisons, are psychopaths. 20% compared to about 2% of the general population. These people are nowhere near as smart as they think they are. But as you're learning the narcissist language, you need to understand that he speaks in terms of pride and deception. Those are two things that, well, pride, that's what narcissism is all about anyhow. Deception, that is what reinforces his pride, her pride. Convinces them, yeah, you know, I am pretty smart because I duped this person. I understand the discard. You know, they're going to dump you at some point. What point? Well, when you find them out. As soon as it occurs to them that they can't use you for supply anymore through direct manipulation, they're going to try to get supply from you from indirect manipulation. Enter the smear campaign. That feeds their ego. Anything that feeds their ego is supply. That's what they're all about. So those are things, that's their language. We need to learn that. We need to understand that. And I'm guessing, through experience, you have become very, very good at understanding their language. You're proficient in, what do you call this, narcissistic ease or whatever. You're good at it. Now, you may not speak the language, but man, you can understand it. You can see it a mile away, hopefully, because you've experienced it. That is a verbal skill. Figuratively speaking, sometimes not. But that is a skill, a language skill, that is worth studying. Well, you know that's why you're here. That's why you're watching this video. Number 5 is just practice. We're going to tie these 5 things together in a second. But I have this little saying, I mentioned it in a video a couple of days ago, and that is business acumen that I use is test before you invest. You know, I had a direct mail business years ago before the internet wiped it out, but it did very well. And one of the things I learned about direct marketing, direct mail, is you do testing, do a lot of testing. And you find out what works, and you find out what doesn't work. So when you're freeing yourself from a narcissist and now you're out there without his support or her support, and not only do you no longer have their support or what you thought was support, but now you have them actively, overtly, in the past it was covertly, but now overtly opposing you. So it's no longer an imaginary tailwind, now it's a headwind. And now you're putting together strategies for making it on your own. And one of the things you got to do, try out some things. You know, people say, look before you leap. Still water runs deep. Well, there's another saying I just made up is look before you leap because there may not be any water in the pool. So before you jump off the diving board, make sure, you know, test before you invest. Make sure you're going to have a soft landing. Figuratively speaking, well, literally speaking too, I guess. But as you're maneuvering your way through life, I think it's so important that we don't rush into things. Now, if you go to some scammer's sales seminar, and I think I mentioned this in another video, but one thing they always do, it seems to me, I've been to a couple of these, is they always tell you that smart business people make snap decisions. That's a lie. It's a flat out lie. I don't know any smart business person who makes snap decisions. The only exceptions are when they have years of experience and they know a good deal when they see it. That's not a snap decision. It appears to be. But they've got years of experience behind them, so now it's not a snap decision. Don't make snap decisions. I mean, there are rare exceptions, but not very many. You know, I know people who fell in love at first sight, and they got married within months, sometimes weeks. And they had a blissful marriage. And last night, I like to watch crime videos. And last night, I was watching a video about this middle-aged guy, successful businessman. His wife died. And he fell head over heels with this 24-year-old woman. Big mistake. I mean, they got married within weeks. And you know what she was after? She was after his money. And she wound up shooting the guy. You know, last I heard, she went to prison for it. But my opinion, she was a narcissist. She was a psychopath. And this guy did not look before he leaped. He didn't practice. He didn't, check out her background. Anything, as far as I know. That's just one example. There are many examples. But practice. In the sense that when you're dealing with people, don't just jump to the conclusion that this is a nice guy. If you need a friend, you need somebody to be kind to you, you need really sympathetic, somebody just really, really friendly, go to a used car lot. Because, there's some guy selling cars and he's the friendliest guy on the planet. So you go there, and as soon as he finds out you're not going to buy anything, he's not friendly anymore, but at least for a few minutes you can have a friend. Okay, I'm being a little bit sarcastic there, but the point is we need to look before we leap, because there's either deep water or there's sometimes no water. But why would you jump off a diving board into an empty pool? The only reason is because you just assumed there was water in the pool. Now, personally, I would never do that, even if there was water in the pool, because I can't swim. And I'm afraid of heights. Some people say, you need to run into life like you've got a football, and you're running the football. Well, that's good if you're playing football, but life is not a football game. I mean, there are some similarities, some things you can learn from playing athletic sports. I get that, but by and large, we need to understand it's not the same thing. And again, the guy who's running the football, the professional athlete, this is not his first day on the job. He's been doing this probably since he was a little kid. He has years and years and years and years of past experience. He's not just rushing with the ball. Seems like he is, but, he knows what to expect. And unless you have years of experience in relationships and years of experience in business or whatever it is, you don't want to just presume that you know how to deal with narcissists. They're out there. And don't just rush into them. Stop and think. Even then, they got a game plan. You've got the coach sitting on the side. He's got that little. Do they still use those clipboards? Probably they use iPads now, but they draw those little diagrams. They got plans. Nobody just rushes with the ball. Haphazardly. Got to have a reason. Okay, let's tie this all together. And I think what I'm saying, if I could summarize everything into 3 words, it would be, once we know that we're free, we need to just cop an attitude. And I say that in a good sense. We need to say, hey, I don't want to say screw you to a narcissist, because that's, okay, let's just say screw you to the narcissist. I'm not putting up with you anymore. People like you, I'm done with you. I'm going to cop an attitude. You're going to understand. They're going to understand. Narcissists that I've never even met before and don't even know they exist, they're going to pick up on and they're going to sense that attitude, and they're going to say, nah, this is not a low-hanging fruit. No, this is not a wounded gazelle. Think I'm going to stay away from this person. So we need to develop that attitude. Cultivate that attitude. So once we know, like the elephant, who was tied to the post and now is free, we're not going to just stand there. We're going to have an attitude, do not tie me to a post or you're going to get stomped on. Maybe not literally, but figuratively speaking. We're going to send a loud and clear message to any potential narcissist that we encounter. Now, just because we are nice and we're friendly, that doesn't mean we're gullible. Don't test me. That's the attitude we should have. When we cop the attitude, it should be, don't mess with me, don't test me, go somewhere else, but I'm not going to be a good source of supply. We'll see you all next time.